Hello there, and welcome to the Slumber Science Society. Tonight we're going to take a journey into one of Earth's most mysterious realms, a place where the normal rules seem to bend and twist, where creatures grow to impossible sizes in the eternal darkness. You don't need to do anything now but rest. Let your thoughts drift like falling through deep water, let your breathing slow and soften, and feel yourself sinking gently into tonight's exploration of the deep ocean and the strange phenomenon we call deep-sea gigantism. If you enjoy these gentle journeys through science and wonder, consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a thought in the comments below. It helps others find their way here too, one curious mind at a time. But for now, if you're ready, let's descend together into the darkness. Imagine you're in a submarine, slowly descending through layers of ocean that grow progressively darker, colder, and more alien with each passing meter. The sunlight that danced across the surface begins to fade, first dimming to a twilight blue, then to a deep indigo, and finally disappearing entirely. You've just passed through what scientists call the photic zone, that sunlit upper layer where photosynthesis can still occur, where most of the ocean's familiar life thrives in the warmth and light. But now you're entering a different world entirely. The water around you has dropped to temperatures hovering just above freezing, somewhere between -1.8 and 3 degrees Celsius. The pressure is building with every meter you descend, adding one full atmosphere of pressure for every 10 meters of depth. At 200 meters, you're experiencing 20 times the pressure you felt at the surface. At 1,000 meters, it's 100 atmospheres pressing in from all sides. And still, you keep descending into zones that humans have explored less thoroughly than the surface of the moon. This is the deep sea, and it's vast beyond comprehension. While the sunlit surface waters make up only about 10% of the ocean's total volume, the deep sea accounts for the remaining 90%. It's the largest habitat on Earth, covering more than 60% of the planet's surface, and yet it remains largely unknown to us. We've mapped more of Mars than we have of our own ocean floor. And in this vast, dark, cold realm, something very strange happens to the creatures that call it home. They grow large, far larger than their shallow water relatives, in ways that seem to defy logic. Scientists call this phenomenon deep-sea gigantism, or sometimes abyssal gigantism, and it's one of the ocean's most intriguing mysteries. Down here in the darkness, you might encounter an isopod the size of a football, a spider crab with legs spanning nearly 4 meters, a squid longer than a school bus, or amphipods that dwarf their tiny beach-dwelling cousins by 100 times or more. These creatures shouldn't exist, at least not according to our usual understanding of biology and metabolism. Yet here they are, thriving in conditions that would crush most surface life, growing to sizes that seem impossible given the scarcity of food and the extreme environmental pressures they face. The deep sea is divided into several zones, each with its own characteristics and challenges. Below the photic zone lies the mesopelagic, or twilight zone, stretching from 200 to 1,000 meters. Here, a faint glimmer of sunlight still penetrates, creating a perpetual dusk. The temperature drops sharply through what's called the thermocline, falling from the relatively warm surface waters to the consistent cold of the deep. This is the realm of bioluminescence, where an estimated 80% of creatures have evolved the ability to produce their own light. Below that lies the bathypelagic, or midnight zone, from 1,000 to 4,000 meters. Here, darkness is absolute and eternal. No trace of sunlight ever reaches these depths. The temperature hovers at a constant 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, and the pressure is crushing, measuring in the hundreds of atmospheres. Food is incredibly scarce, with only about 5% of the organic matter produced in the sunlit surface ever filtering down to these depths. Yet life persists, adapted in remarkable ways to survive in what seems like one of the most hostile environments on the planet. And then deeper still, below 4,000 meters, lies the abyssopelagic zone, the lower midnight zone, where conditions become even more extreme. The pressure can exceed 1,000 atmospheres, equivalent to having a large elephant balanced on your thumbnail. The temperature remains just above freezing, and food is so scarce that creatures here may go weeks or even months between meals. But they've adapted, evolving strategies that allow them not just to survive, but in some cases, to grow remarkably large. The phenomenon of deep-sea gigantism has fascinated scientists since the earliest deep-sea explorations. In 1872, the HMS Challenger embarked on what would become one of the most important scientific expeditions in history, a voyage that would last nearly 4 years and cover almost 70,000 nautical miles. Led by Scottish naturalist Charles Wyville Thomson, the Challenger expedition was the first to systematically explore the deep ocean, using dredges and nets to sample life from depths previously thought to be lifeless. What they found astonished the scientific world. As they hauled up their catches from the deep, they discovered not a barren wasteland, but a thriving ecosystem filled with bizarre and often enormous creatures. There were sea spiders with leg spans that dwarfed their shallow water relatives, glass sponges that grew to extraordinary sizes, and fish with enormous mouths and expandable stomachs. The expedition collected over 4,700 previously unknown species, fundamentally changing our understanding of life in the ocean's depths. Among their most remarkable discoveries were the giant isopods, creatures related to the familiar pill bugs you might find in your garden, but grown to sizes that seemed almost prehistoric. While a common terrestrial isopod might measure a centimeter or two, these deep-sea giants could reach lengths of 50 centimeters or more, weighing up to 1.7 kilograms. They looked like something from another era, with their segmented exoskeletons, multiple pairs of walking legs, and large compound eyes adapted to detect even the faintest traces of bioluminescence in the darkness. The most famous of these is Bathynomus giganteus, the giant isopod of the deep Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean waters. These remarkable creatures inhabit depths ranging from 170 to 2,100 meters, though they are most commonly found between 300 and 700 meters. They are scavengers, feeding primarily on the carcasses of dead whales, fish, and squid that drift down from the surface waters in what marine biologists call marine snow, a constant gentle rain of organic debris that provides the primary food source for much of the deep-sea ecosystem. Giant isopods have evolved fascinating adaptations to survive in their harsh environment. Their bodies are heavily armored, protected by overlapping calcareous plates that can withstand the immense pressure of the deep. They move slowly across the seafloor on 7 pairs of legs, conserving energy in an environment where food is unpredictable and often scarce. When they do encounter a food source, they can gorge themselves, consuming so much that they become nearly immobile, and then survive for months or even years without eating again. In aquarium settings, giant isopods have been observed going more than 5 years without food, their metabolism slowing to an almost imperceptible rate. But why do they grow so large? That's the question that has puzzled scientists for more than a century. Several theories have been proposed, and the truth likely involves a combination of factors working together in the unique environment of the deep sea. One of the earliest and most influential ideas is known as Bergmann's rule, proposed by German biologist Carl Bergmann in 1847. Bergmann noticed that within many species, individuals living in colder climates tended to be larger than those in warmer regions. The reason, he suggested, had to do with thermoregulation and surface area to volume ratios. A larger body has a lower surface area relative to its volume, which means it loses heat more slowly. In cold environments, being large can be advantageous because it helps conserve body heat. Now, Bergman was studying warm-blooded animals, but the principle has been extended to cold-blooded creatures as well, including those in the deep sea. The deep ocean is consistently cold, with temperatures hovering just above freezing in many zones. Growing larger could help these creatures maintain more stable internal temperatures, even though they are cold-blooded and don't generate their own body heat the way mammals do. But temperature is just one piece of the puzzle. Another important factor is metabolism and the relationship between body size and metabolic rate, described by Kleiber's law. This principle, named after Swiss biologist Max Kleiber, states that an animal's metabolic rate doesn't increase linearly with body mass. Instead, it increases at a rate proportional to mass raised to the 3/4 power. What this means in practice is that larger animals are more energy efficient. A creature twice as massive doesn't need twice as much food, it needs less than twice as much. In the deep sea, where food is scarce and unpredictable, this efficiency could be a significant advantage. Imagine two isopods, one small and one large, both facing the same food-scarce environment. The smaller isopod has a higher metabolic rate relative to its body mass, meaning it needs to find food more frequently to survive. The larger isopod, with its more efficient metabolism, can go longer between meals. Over evolutionary time, this could lead to selection for larger body sizes in environments where food scarcity is a constant challenge. The giants survive and reproduce, passing their size to the next generation, while their smaller relatives struggle to find enough food to sustain themselves. There's also the matter of oxygen. In cold water, oxygen dissolves more readily than in warm water. The deep sea, despite its remoteness and darkness, is actually quite well oxygenated in many areas, particularly where deep ocean currents circulate and mix the water. This abundant oxygen could support larger body sizes and the greater oxygen demands that come with them. In warm, oxygen-poor waters, growing large might be problematic because the animal couldn't get enough oxygen to support its increased tissue mass. But in the cold, oxygen-rich deep sea, that constraint is lifted. Some scientists have also suggested that the extreme pressure of the deep sea might play a role. At first glance, you might think that crushing pressure would favor smaller, more compact body forms. But pressure affects different biological processes in complex ways. For some organisms, the high-pressure environment might actually favor larger cells and larger overall body sizes. The mechanisms aren't fully understood, but laboratory studies have shown that pressure can influence cell division, protein folding, and membrane fluidity in ways that could potentially affect growth patterns. Another theory focuses on predation, or rather, the lack of it. In shallow waters, many creatures face constant pressure from predators, which often favor smaller, more agile body forms that can hide easily or dart away quickly. But in the deep sea, predators are less abundant due to the overall scarcity of life. With fewer threats, there may be less evolutionary pressure to stay small and nimble. Instead, growing large could provide advantages in competing for limited food resources or in deterring the predators that do exist. A giant isopod is far less likely to be eaten than a small one, simply because fewer predators can tackle something so large and heavily armored. Lifespan might also play a role. Many deep-sea organisms are thought to have extremely long lifespans compared to their shallow water relatives, a consequence of their slow metabolic rates and the cold, stable environment. If an organism lives for decades or even centuries, and if it continues to grow throughout its life, even slow growth rates could eventually produce giants. Some deep-sea fish, for instance, are believed to live for 100 years or more, growing continuously throughout their lives. Time, combined with even modest growth, can produce remarkable results. The deep sea is also incredibly stable compared to surface waters. There are no storms down here, no dramatic temperature swings, no seasonal changes in light or food availability beyond the subtle variations in the rain of organic matter from above. This stability might favor larger body sizes because there's less need for the metabolic flexibility and quick response times that characterize life in more variable environments. A giant can afford to be slow and steady when its world rarely changes. Consider the Japanese spider crab, Macrochera kempferi, one of the most striking examples of deep-sea gigantism among crustaceans. These remarkable creatures live on the sandy and rocky bottoms of the Pacific Ocean around Japan, typically at depths between 50 and 600 meters, though they've been found as deep as 800 meters. With a leg span that can reach up to 3.8 meters from claw to claw, and a body that can weigh up to 19 kilograms, they hold the record for the largest leg span of any arthropod. Despite their impressive size, Japanese spider crabs are actually quite delicate in some ways. Their long, spindly legs are relatively weak, designed for walking slowly across the seafloor rather than for powerful swimming or fighting. They are omnivores and scavengers, feeding on mollusks, algae, plants, and the occasional bit of carrion. They use their long legs to carefully pick through the sediment, searching for small morsels of food with a patience that matches their environment. These crabs face an interesting challenge as they grow. Like all arthropods, they must molt, shedding their hard exoskeleton periodically to grow larger. This process becomes increasingly dangerous as they get bigger, because the larger they are, the longer they are vulnerable during and after molting, when their new shell is still soft. Many deep-sea giants show evidence of old injuries, likely sustained during these vulnerable periods. Yet they persist, growing slowly but steadily throughout their lives, which can span 100 years or more. The phenomenon of gigantism isn't limited to crustaceans. Perhaps the most famous deep-sea giants are the giant and colossal squids, creatures that have captured human imagination for centuries, inspiring legends of sea monsters and ships dragged to the depths by enormous tentacles. While these tales were often dismissed as sailors' myths, the reality of these animals is in many ways even more remarkable than the legends. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, can reach lengths of up to 13 meters for females and 10 meters for males, though most specimens are somewhat smaller. They inhabit depths ranging from 300 to 1,000 meters in oceans around the world, rising toward the surface at night to feed on fish and smaller squid. For centuries, giant squid were known only from dead specimens that washed ashore or were found in the stomachs of sperm whales, their primary predators. It wasn't until 2004 that scientists finally captured the first photographs of a living giant squid in its natural habitat, and 2012 when the first video footage was obtained. These animals are extraordinary hunters despite living in near-total darkness. They have the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, up to 27 centimeters in diameter, roughly the size of a dinner plate. These enormous eyes can detect even the faintest traces of bioluminescence, allowing them to spot prey or predators from great distances. Their 8 arms and 2 longer feeding tentacles are lined with hundreds of suckers, each ringed with sharp, tooth-like structures that grip prey with remarkable tenacity. When hunting, a giant squid can shoot its 2 long tentacles forward with explosive speed, snatching prey from several meters away in a fraction of a second. But even the giant squid is dwarfed by its relative, the colossal squid, Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni. This creature, which inhabits the deep waters around Antarctica, can reach total lengths of up to 14 meters and is estimated to weigh as much as 750 kilograms, making it the largest known invertebrate by mass. The colossal squid has even larger eyes than the giant squid, with some specimens showing eyes exceeding 30 centimeters in diameter. It also has a more robust body and shorter, thicker tentacles armed not just with suckers, but with sharp rotating hooks that can grip and tear prey. Very few intact colossal squid specimens have ever been recovered, as they live at depths of 1,000 meters or more in some of the most remote and inhospitable waters on Earth. Most of what we know comes from incomplete specimens found in the stomachs of sperm whales, or from rare catches by deep-sea fishing vessels. In 2007, a fishing vessel in the Ross Sea caught a colossal squid weighing 495 kilograms and measuring 4.2 meters in mantle length, the largest specimen ever captured intact. When scientists examined it, they found it had a beak powerful enough to slice through steel cables, and hooks on its tentacles that could rotate 360 degrees to maintain a grip on struggling prey. Why do these squid grow so large? The same factors that drive gigantism in other deep-sea creatures likely apply here as well. The cold temperatures, the metabolic efficiency that comes with size, the abundance of oxygen, and the reduced pressure from predators once an individual reaches a certain size. For squid, there may be additional advantages. Larger eyes can gather more light, a significant benefit in the darkness where detecting even the faintest bioluminescent glow could mean the difference between catching a meal or going hungry. Larger bodies can also support larger brains, and squid are among the most intelligent invertebrates, with complex nervous systems and sophisticated hunting behaviors. There's also an arms race of sorts happening in the deep. Sperm whales, the primary predators of both giant and colossal squid, are themselves enormous, growing to lengths of 16 meters or more and diving to depths exceeding 2,000 meters in search of prey. For a squid to have any chance of escaping a sperm whale, it needs to be large, strong, and equipped with defensive weapons, those powerful beaks and sharp hooks. The evidence of these titanic struggles can be seen on the skin of many adult sperm whales, which often bear circular scars from squid suckers, some as large as dinner plates. The battles that take place in the darkness, thousands of meters below the surface, between whales and squid are among nature's most dramatic encounters, though they happen in near-total darkness where no human has ever witnessed them. Let's descend even deeper now, past the hunting grounds of the giant squid, down to where the giant oarfish drifts through the twilight zone like a living ribbon. The oarfish, Regalicus glesni, is the world's longest bony fish, with confirmed specimens reaching 11 meters in length, and unconfirmed reports of individuals stretching 17 meters or more. These extraordinary creatures are rarely seen alive, as they typically inhabit depths between 200 and 1,000 meters, occasionally drifting into shallower waters or being washed ashore after storms. Oarfish are unlike any other fish. Their bodies are long, flat, and ribbon-like, silvery with occasional dark markings. They have no scales, just smooth skin. A bright red dorsal fin runs the entire length of their body, from just behind their head all the way to the tail, with elongated rays at the front forming a distinctive crown-like crest. Their pectoral fins are small and fan-like, while their pelvic fins have evolved into long, thin filaments that extend forward from near the head, resembling oars, which is how they got their common name. These fish swim in an undulating, serpentine manner, typically holding their bodies vertically in the water column with their heads up, using the wave-like motion of their long dorsal fin for propulsion. They feed on small crustaceans, small fish, and zooplankton, filtering them from the water with their toothless mouths. Their vertical swimming posture is thought to make them less visible to predators and prey alike, presenting a narrow profile in the vast darkness. Oarfish have been the source of many sea serpent legends throughout history. When they occasionally wash up on beaches, their enormous size, serpentine shape, and unusual appearance can be truly startling to those unfamiliar with them. In Japanese folklore, They are known as Rigu no Tsukai, or messengers from the sea god's palace, and their appearance is sometimes seen as an omen, often associated with earthquakes or tsunamis, though there's no scientific evidence linking their behavior to seismic activity. Why such an unusual body shape? The elongated form may be an adaptation to the deep-sea environment, allowing the fish to drift efficiently through the water with minimal energy expenditure, sampling large volumes of water for the sparse zooplankton that make up its diet. The vertical swimming position might help it detect prey above and below simultaneously, maximizing its chances of finding food in a sparse environment. And once again, the cold temperatures, slow metabolism, and long lifespan could allow these fish to grow continuously throughout lives that may span decades. The deep sea is full of fish that have evolved remarkable adaptations to survive and even thrive in the darkness. Many have developed extremely efficient metabolisms, allowing them to survive on very little food. Others have evolved expandable stomachs and hinged jaws that allow them to swallow prey larger than themselves, a crucial adaptation when you never know when your next meal will arrive. Some, like the black swallower, can consume prey up to 10 times their own mass, their bodies stretching grotesquely to accommodate the meal. But gigantism in deep-sea fish manifests in various ways. Some species, like the oarfish, grow extraordinarily long. Others, like certain species of grenadiers or rat-tails, grow relatively large and robust. The fangtooth, despite its fearsome appearance with the longest teeth relative to body size of any fish, actually only grows to about 16 centimeters. But their relatives in the deep, the slickheads and smoothheads, can grow substantially larger, with some species reaching over a meter in length. One of the most intriguing groups are the deep-sea anglerfish. While most species are actually quite small, some can grow to impressive sizes, and all share the remarkable adaptation of bioluminescent lures. Female anglerfish have a modified dorsal spine that extends forward over the head like a fishing rod, with a glowing lure at the tip called an esker. This lure contains bioluminescent bacteria that produce light, attracting curious prey in the darkness. When a fish or shrimp approaches to investigate, the anglerfish opens its enormous mouth and inhales the prey in a fraction of a second, along with a large volume of water. Male anglerfish, in most species, are tiny compared to females, sometimes hundreds of times smaller. In some species, the males are parasitic, biting onto the female and fusing with her body, their circulatory systems merging. The male gradually atrophies, losing his eyes, fins, and most internal organs, becoming little more than a pair of gonads that the female can use for reproduction whenever she's ready to spawn. This extreme sexual dimorphism is thought to be another adaptation to the sparse environment. In the vast darkness, finding a mate is incredibly difficult, so when a male does locate a female, he quite literally never lets go. The deep sea also hosts remarkable giants among the amphipods, small crustaceans that are common throughout the world's oceans but reach extraordinary sizes in the deepest zones. In shallow waters, amphipods are typically a few millimeters to a centimeter or two in length, tiny creatures that hop along the seafloor or swim through the water. But in the deep sea, they can grow to 34 centimeters or more, over 100 times the mass of their shallow water relatives. These deep-sea amphipods, sometimes called supergiant amphipods, have been found at depths exceeding 7,000 meters in ocean trenches around the world. They are aggressive scavengers, capable of devouring large pieces of carrion with remarkable speed. When researchers deployed baited cameras in the deep ocean, they observed swarms of these giant amphipods overwhelming and consuming large fish carcasses in a matter of hours. Despite their size, they are still remarkably fast and agile swimmers, able to dart quickly through the water when hunting or fleeing from threats. The deepest parts of the ocean, the hadal zone below 6,000 meters, which includes the deep ocean trenches, present perhaps the most extreme environment on Earth. In places like the Mariana Trench, which reaches a maximum depth of nearly 11,000 meters at Challenger Deep, the pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, or 8 tons per square inch. The temperature hovers just above freezing. Absolutely no light penetrates to these depths. And yet life persists, including these giant amphipods and other remarkable creatures. In 1960, the bathyscaphe Trieste carried 2 men, Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh, to the bottom of Challenger Deep, the deepest point in the world's oceans. They spent 20 minutes on the seafloor, peering through the small viewport at the sediment below. They reported seeing a flatfish and a shrimp, though some scientists later questioned whether the observations were accurate or whether what they saw was actually sea cucumber or sediment disturbance. Regardless, subsequent missions with unmanned vehicles have confirmed that life does indeed exist even at these extreme depths, including fish, amphipods, and various other creatures. Director James Cameron made the solo descent to Challenger Deep in 2012 in the specially designed submersible Deep-Sea Challenger. He spent several hours on the bottom, collecting samples and filming. Among his observations were numerous amphipods and other small creatures living in the sediment. The samples brought back revealed an ecosystem adapted to survive in conditions that would destroy most surface life, with organisms showing specialized adaptations in their cell membranes, proteins, and metabolic pathways to function under such enormous pressure. As you might imagine, studying these deep-sea giants is extraordinarily difficult. The deep ocean is remote, dark, and hostile to human exploration. Until recently, most of what we knew came from dead specimens brought up in nets or from carcasses that washed ashore. But new technologies are beginning to change that. Remotely operated vehicles, or IOVs, equipped with high-definition cameras and sophisticated lighting can now explore depths that were previously inaccessible. These robots can spend hours in the deep, filming creatures in their natural habitats, collecting samples, and even conducting experiments on the seafloor. Autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, can map vast areas of the deep ocean floor, creating detailed bathymetric charts that reveal the topography of the abyss. New tagging technologies allow scientists to track the movements of some larger deep-sea creatures, providing insights into their behavior, migration patterns, and feeding strategies. And advances in molecular biology are helping researchers understand the genetic adaptations that allow these creatures to survive and grow large in such extreme conditions. One of the most remarkable discoveries in recent decades was the detection of a completely unexpected giant in the deep sea, the giant tube worm. In 1977, scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift in the deep-diving submersible Alvin made a discovery that would fundamentally change our understanding of life on Earth. At a depth of 2,500 meters, they found hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers that spout superheated water rich in dissolved minerals and chemicals. And surrounding these vents, they found thriving communities of life, including enormous tube worms, giant clams, and other creatures previously unknown to science. The tube worms, later named Rifsha pachyptila, were particularly astonishing. They could grow to 3 meters in length, living in white tubes attached to the rocks near the vents. They had no mouth, no digestive system, no anus. Instead, they had a large internal organ called a trophisome, filled with billions of symbiotic bacteria. These bacteria were chemosynthetic, meaning they derived energy not from sunlight, but from the chemicals in the vent water, particularly hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic to most life. The tube worms had evolved a remarkable system. Their bright red plumes, which extended from the tops of their tubes, contained hemoglobin capable of binding both oxygen and hydrogen sulfide simultaneously without the two chemicals reacting. The worms would absorb these chemicals from the vent water and transport them to the bacteria in their trophosome. The bacteria would use the hydrogen sulfide as an energy source, much like plants use sunlight, and in return, they would provide the worm with organic compounds for nutrition. It was a completely self-contained system, independent of photosynthesis, thriving in the utter darkness of the deep sea. This discovery revealed that life could exist without any connection to the sun, deriving energy instead from the Earth's internal heat and chemistry. It opened up entirely new possibilities for where life might exist, both on Earth and potentially on other worlds. And it showed that the deep sea, far from being a barren wasteland, was full of surprises, full of ecosystems and creatures that defied our expectations. The giant tube worms grow remarkably fast for deep-sea creatures, able to colonize a new vent and reach sexual maturity in just a year and a half. Their growth rate can reach up to 85 centimeters per year, incredibly fast compared to other deep-sea animals. This rapid growth is possible because of the abundant energy provided by their bacterial symbionts, which in turn is made possible by the chemical-rich vent water. In a sense, these worms live at an oasis in the desert, a place where energy and nutrients are abundant compared to the surrounding deep ocean. But why do they grow so large? In their case, it may be related to the need to compete for space near the vents. Larger worms can extend their plumes farther into the vent plume, accessing more of the chemicals they need. They can also tolerate a wider range of temperatures and chemical concentrations, allowing them to live closer to the intense heat of the vent mouth, where smaller organisms might be unable to survive. Size, in this case, provides access to resources and helps ensure survival in a competitive environment where real estate near the vents is limited. Hydrothermal vent communities have now been discovered all along the mid-ocean ridge system, the vast underwater mountain chain that encircles the globe like the seam on a baseball. Each vent community is slightly different, with its own unique assemblage of species adapted to local conditions. Some have giant tube worms, others have fields of giant clams or mussels, and still others are dominated by different organisms entirely. But nearly all show evidence of gigantism, with creatures growing far larger than their relatives in the surrounding deep sea. These vents are dynamic environments. They can turn on suddenly as magma moves beneath the seafloor, and they can shut off just as quickly, lasting anywhere from a few years to decades or longer. When a vent stops flowing, the community that depends on it dies off, and the area returns to the typical deep-sea environment. But life persists, with larvae drifting in the currents, searching for new vents to colonize. It's a harsh existence, but one that has been going on for millions of years, and possibly for as long as there have been oceans on Earth. The deep sea presents an environment utterly unlike the surface world we know. It's a place of eternal darkness, crushing pressure, near-freezing temperatures, and scarce food. Yet life has not merely survived here, it has found ways to thrive, evolving remarkable adaptations and strategies that allow creatures to grow to sizes that seem impossible given the constraints they face. The giants of the deep, from isopods and amphipods to squid and fish to tube worms and crabs, tell us that life is far more resilient and adaptable than we often give it credit for. As you rest tonight, drifting toward sleep, you might think about those vast, dark waters that cover most of our planet, the hidden realm where pressure is measured in hundreds of atmospheres, where food falls like snow from the distant surface, where creatures produce their own light in the endless night, and where some animals have grown to proportions that challenge our understanding of biology. The deep sea reminds us that Earth still holds mysteries, that there are places we've barely begun to explore, and that the rules we think we understand about life may need to be rewritten when we venture into these extreme environments. But we've only begun to scratch the surface of the deep sea's giants. There are so many more creatures to meet, so many more adaptations to explore. Let's continue our descent, drifting deeper into the twilight and midnight zones, where bioluminescence becomes not just common but necessary, where every creature either produces light, detects it, or both. Bioluminescence is perhaps the most striking adaptation in the deep sea. In the darkness where sunlight never reaches, creating your own light becomes an essential tool for survival. Scientists estimate that over 50% of all deep-sea fish species are capable of producing light, along with many species of squid, shrimp, and other organisms. About 80% have photophores, specialized light-producing organs that contain either symbiotic bioluminescent bacteria or cells that produce light through chemical reactions. The chemistry of bioluminescence is elegant in its simplicity. It involves a molecule called luciferin, which, when combined with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase, produces light. Different organisms use slightly different versions of luciferin and luciferase, suggesting that bioluminescence evolved independently many times throughout the history of life. In ray-finned fishes alone, it appears to have evolved independently at least 27 times, with about 1,500 fish species now capable of producing light. But why produce light in the darkness? The reasons are as varied as the species themselves. Some fish use bioluminescent lures to attract prey, like the anglerfish we discussed earlier. Others use it to search for food, essentially carrying their own flashlight in the darkness. Some species use bioluminescence for communication, flashing patterns that might identify species, attract mates, or coordinate behavior with others of their kind. Still others use it defensively, either to startle predators, to create confusing light displays that allow them to escape, or to employ a remarkable strategy called counterillumination. Counterillumination is one of the most sophisticated uses of bioluminescence. Many deep-sea fish and squid have light-producing organs on their undersides. These photophores can be precisely controlled to produce light that matches the faint blue glow filtering down from above. When a predator looks up from below, the prey doesn't cast a dark silhouette against the lighter water above. Instead, it becomes nearly invisible, its bioluminescent belly lights perfectly matching the background. It's active camouflage, and it requires remarkably precise control to adjust the light output as the creature moves through different depths and light conditions. Some deep-sea creatures have taken bioluminescence in unexpected directions. The dragonfish, for example, produces red bioluminescence, which is extremely rare in the deep sea. Most bioluminescence is blue or green because these wavelengths travel farthest through water and are easiest for most deep-sea eyes to detect. But blue-green light means that a predator lighting up the area to hunt is also advertising its presence to potential prey. Dragonfish have evolved both the ability to produce red light and the visual pigments to detect it. Their red bioluminescence acts like an invisible spotlight, allowing them to hunt without alerting their prey, which simply cannot see red wavelengths. The eyes of deep-sea creatures are marvels of evolution in their own right. Many have evolved enormous eyes relative to their body size, sometimes accounting for a significant fraction of their total mass. These large eyes can gather more light, allowing them to detect even the faintest bioluminescent glow from great distances. Some have tubular eyes that point upward, giving them excellent binocular vision for detecting the silhouettes of prey against the faint light from above. These tubular eyes sacrifice peripheral vision for enhanced sensitivity in a narrow field of view, a trade-off that makes sense in an environment where detecting faint light is more important than seeing in all directions. One remarkable fish, the silver spinifin, has evolved an extraordinary adaptation for vision in the deep. While most vertebrates have just one rhodopsin gene, the light-sensitive pigment in the retina, the silver spinifin has 38 different rhodopsin genes. Scientists believe this might allow the fish to detect an unusually broad range of wavelengths, essentially giving it color vision in an environment where most organisms can only see in shades of blue. The advantage of this adaptation isn't entirely clear, but it may help the fish distinguish between different types of bioluminescence or detect the faint red light produced by some deep-sea organisms. In contrast, some deep-sea fish have lost their eyes entirely. In the deepest zones, where even bioluminescence is rare and food so scarce that any energy saved is valuable, eyes become a costly luxury. These blind fish navigate using other senses, their lateral line system, which detects vibrations and water movements, their olfactory sense, which can detect chemical traces in the water, and their inner ear, which senses changes in orientation and can detect low-frequency sounds. In the darkness, other senses become paramount. The pressure of the deep sea presents perhaps the most significant physical challenge these creatures face. At 1,000 meters, the pressure is approximately 100 atmospheres, or 1,470 pounds per square inch. At 5,000 meters, it's 500 atmospheres. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters down, the pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, more than 15,000 pounds per square inch, roughly equivalent to having 3 elephants balanced on your thumbnail. This pressure would crush most surface-dwelling organisms instantly. Swim bladders, the gas-filled organs that many fish use for buoyancy, would be compressed to uselessness. Air spaces in the body would collapse. Cell membranes would stiffen and proteins would denature. Yet deep-sea organisms have evolved remarkable adaptations to not only survive but thrive under these conditions. Most deep-sea fish lack swim bladders entirely. Instead, they maintain neutral buoyancy through other means. Many have high fat content in their tissues, and since fat is less dense than water, it helps provide lift. Others have reduced their skeletal structure, with lighter bones and less dense tissues overall. Some have developed deposits of lipid-rich compounds in specific areas of their bodies to help with buoyancy. The result is often a somewhat gelatinous consistency to their flesh, with bodies that feel soft and almost watery when brought to the surface. At the cellular level, the adaptations are even more sophisticated. Cell membranes in deep-sea organisms contain a higher proportion of unsaturated fatty acids, which remain fluid at high pressures and low temperatures. Saturated fats would become stiff and non-functional under these conditions. The proteins in deep-sea organisms also show structural modifications that allow them to maintain their shape and function despite the crushing pressure. These proteins are often more compact, with stronger internal bonds that resist compression. Interestingly, some of the proteins in deep-sea fish show remarkable heat resistance, even though these fish live in near-freezing water. For example, G-actin, a key structural protein, in some deep-sea fish is as heat-resistant as the same protein in desert lizards. This isn't because the fish ever encounter high temperatures, but because the structural modifications that make the protein resistant to pressure also happen to make it resistant to heat. It's a fascinating example of how evolution finds solutions to one problem that incidentally confer benefits in completely unrelated conditions. The metabolic adaptations of deep-sea organisms are equally remarkable. Most deep-sea creatures have significantly lower metabolic rates than their shallow water relatives. They move slowly, conserve energy, and have evolved what scientists call a sit-and-wait strategy. Rather than actively hunting, many deep-sea predators simply wait, hovering or resting on the bottom, expending minimal energy until prey comes within range. Then they strike quickly, using as little energy as possible to capture the meal. This low-energy lifestyle is reflected in their body structure. Many deep-sea fish have weak, watery muscles with low protein content. They're not built for sustained swimming or powerful movements. Instead, they are built for efficiency, for surviving on minimal resources, for making the most of every rare meal. Their gills are often smaller than those of surface fish, reflecting their lower oxygen demands. Their hearts beat more slowly. Everything about them is optimized for a low-energy existence in an energy-poor environment. Yet within this general pattern of energy conservation, there are remarkable exceptions. The giant tube worms at hydrothermal vents, as we mentioned, have metabolic rates similar to shallow-living animals, made possible by the abundant energy from their symbiotic bacteria. Some deep-sea fish that make vertical migrations every night, swimming hundreds of meters to feed in the rich waters near the surface before returning to the depths by day, maintain relatively high metabolic rates despite living in the deep sea. These fish, like the lanternfish, are adapted for movement and active hunting rather than the sit-and-wait strategy of their deeper-dwelling relatives. Lanternfish deserve special mention because they are among the most abundant vertebrates on Earth. They account for an estimated 65% of all deep-sea fish biomass, with a global population estimated at 550 to 660 million metric tons. That's an almost incomprehensible number of fish. During the day, they hide in the mesopelagic zone, between 200 and 1,000 meters, where the dim light provides some protection from predators. At night, they migrate upward, sometimes rising to within a few dozen meters of the surface to feed on the abundant zooplankton there. This daily vertical migration is one of the largest movements of biomass on Earth. Millions upon millions of tons of fish, squid, krill, and other creatures rise toward the surface each night and descend again before dawn. Historically, sonar operators on ships and submarines detected what they called the deep scattering layer, a mysterious layer in the ocean that seemed to reflect sound waves and that rose and fell each day. It took years for scientists to realize that this layer wasn't a physical structure but a biological one, composed primarily of lanternfish and other vertically migrating organisms. These migrations create a crucial link between the surface and deep ocean. The organisms feed at the surface, consuming phytoplankton and zooplankton produced through photosynthesis. Then they descend, carrying that energy into the deep sea. Some of it is released through respiration, some through excretion, and some when the migrating animals themselves become prey for deeper-dwelling predators. This biological pump is an important part of the ocean's carbon cycle, helping to transfer carbon from the atmosphere into the deep sea, where it can be stored for centuries or millennia. Not all deep-sea fish migrate. Those living in the bathypelagic zone and below, at depths beyond 1,000 meters, typically remain at depth their entire lives. These are the true deep-sea specialists, with adaptations that allow them to extract enough energy from the meager food supply to survive and, in some cases, to grow remarkably large. They include the bristlemouths, which despite being among the smallest deep-sea fish are also among the most numerous, making them possibly the most abundant vertebrate family on Earth. Bristlemouths are small, typically between 2 and 10 centimeters in length, with large mouths filled with tiny, needle-like teeth. They have photophores along their bellies and sides, producing a faint bioluminescent glow. They feed on tiny zooplankton and organic particles, and in turn are preyed upon by larger deep-sea fish, squid, and even some species of whales. Despite their small size individually, their collective biomass is staggering, and they play a crucial role in deep-sea food webs, converting the small particles of marine snow into food packages large enough for bigger predators to consume. At the other end of the size spectrum are fish like the fangtooth, which, despite its fearsome name and appearance, is actually quite small, rarely exceeding 16 centimeters. Its common name comes from its disproportionately large teeth, the longest relative to body size of any fish. These teeth are so large that the fish has evolved special pouches on either side of its brain to accommodate the lower fangs when its mouth is closed. The fangtooth lives at depths of 500 to 5,000 meters and is thought to be a slow-swimming ambush predator, using its excellent lateral line sense to detect prey in the darkness and then snapping forward to impale victims on its enormous teeth. The stoplight loose jaw is another remarkable deep-sea predator. Its lower jaw is so long, up to a quarter of the fish's total body length, that it's attached to the skull only by a hinge. This allows the jaw to swing open to an enormous gape, creating a trap that can engulf prey nearly as large as the predator itself. Even more remarkably, the stoplight loose jaw is one of the few fish capable of producing red bioluminescence, which it uses like the dragonfish to illuminate prey without alerting them to its presence. The fish itself has visual pigments that allow it to see this red light, giving it a significant hunting advantage in the darkness. As we explore these various adaptations, a pattern emerges. Success in the deep sea requires efficiency. Whether it's the metabolic efficiency of large body size, the energy efficiency of slow movement and patient waiting, the optical efficiency of enormous eyes or specialized visual pigments, or the foraging efficiency of being able to consume prey larger than oneself, efficiency is the key to survival where food is scarce and energy precious. This efficiency extends to reproduction as well. Many deep-sea fish produce relatively few, large eggs compared to their shallow water relatives. These eggs often have high lipid content, providing the developing embryos with substantial energy reserves. Some species produce eggs that float up toward the more food-rich surface waters, where the larvae can feed and grow before eventually descending to take up life in the deep. Other species retain their eggs internally, giving birth to relatively well-developed young that have a better chance of survival than tiny larvae would. The reproductive strategies of deep-sea anglerfish are particularly extreme. As we mentioned earlier, in many species the males are parasitic, permanently attaching to females. This solves a major problem in the deep sea, finding a mate. In an environment where individuals are widely scattered and encounters are rare, ensuring reproductive success is challenging. By fusing to the female, the male guarantees that when she's ready to spawn, sperm will be available. The female, in turn, doesn't have to expend energy searching for a mate or worry that she might not find one at the critical moment. This sexual parasitism is unique to deep-sea anglerfishes and represents one of the most extreme examples of sexual dimorphism in the animal kingdom. In some species, multiple males may attach to a single female, creating what is essentially a single organism composed of one large female and several tiny males, each reduced to little more than a sperm-producing appendage. It's an extreme solution to an extreme problem, and it works, allowing these unusual fish to survive and reproduce in one of Earth's most challenging environments. Giant isopods, which we discussed earlier, have their own remarkable reproductive strategy. Females carry their eggs in a brood pouch beneath their bodies, similar to their terrestrial pillbug relatives. The eggs are large and few in number, typically just 20 to 30 per clutch. The female doesn't eat while brooding, relying on her fat reserves to sustain her for the weeks or months until the young hatch. When they finally emerge, they are miniature versions of the adults, fully formed and ready to begin their lives as scavengers on the deep-sea floor. The life history of giant isopods remains somewhat mysterious. We know they can live for years, possibly decades, growing slowly throughout their lives. We know they can survive extreme periods of fasting, with aquarium specimens documented going 5 years or more without food. But we know relatively little about their behavior in the wild, their movement patterns, their population dynamics, or even their maximum age. The same is true for many deep-sea giants. We've only glimpsed them briefly, learned fragments of their biology, but their full life stories remain largely unknown. This is one of the great frustrations and great opportunities of deep-sea biology. So much remains to be discovered. Every expedition into the deep returns with new observations, new species, new behaviors that challenge our understanding. Technologies that were science fiction just decades ago are now reality, allowing us to explore regions that were previously beyond reach. Autonomous vehicles can survey vast areas of the seafloor. Sophisticated cameras can capture high-definition video in pitch-black water. Genetic analysis can reveal evolutionary relationships and adaptations at the molecular level. And yet, the deep sea remains the largest unexplored habitat on Earth. We've explored only a tiny fraction of it directly. Most of what we know comes from samples brought up in nets, from brief glimpses through submarine viewports, from fragments and extrapolations and educated guesses. The deep sea holds secrets that we've only begun to uncover, creatures we've never seen, ecosystems we don't yet know exist, adaptations that will surprise and inspire us when we finally discover them. Consider the vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, whose scientific name translates to vampire squid from hell. Despite this fearsome name, it's actually a rather gentle creature, feeding primarily on marine snow and detritus rather than actively hunting prey. It lives at depths of 600 to 1,200 meters, in the oxygen minimum zone where dissolved oxygen levels are extremely low. Most animals cannot survive in such low oxygen conditions, but the vampire squid has evolved highly efficient copper-based hemocyanin in its blood that allows it to extract oxygen from water where other organisms would suffocate. The vampire squid is small, typically reaching only about 30 centimeters in total length, but it has the largest eyes relative to body size of any animal, with each eye sometimes accounting for a quarter of the animal's body length. Its body is covered with photophores that can produce disorienting flashes of light, and it has the unique ability to turn itself inside out when threatened, wrapping its web-like cape of skin over its body and exposing rows of fleshy spines that make it look unappetizing to predators. Rather than hunting, the vampire squid drifts through the water, using its long, sticky filaments to collect marine snow. When enough material has accumulated on the filaments, it draws them through its tentacles, scraping off the particles and directing them to its mouth. It's an energy-efficient way to feed, requiring little movement and allowing the squid to survive in an environment where active predators would struggle to find enough food. The vampire squid is neither vampire nor squid in the traditional sense, but rather a unique order unto itself, a living fossil that has remained largely unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. These glimpses of deep-sea life reveal a world far more diverse and complex than early scientists imagined. The HMS Challenger expedition first revealed that the deep sea was not a lifeless desert but a vibrant ecosystem. Each subsequent expedition has added layers of complexity to that picture. We've discovered hydrothermal vents with their chemosynthetic oases. We've found cold seeps where methane and other hydrocarbons leak from the seafloor, supporting communities of bacteria, tube worms, and mussels. We've explored seamounts, underwater mountains that rise from the seafloor and create unique habitats with enhanced currents that bring nutrients and food. We've found whale falls, the carcasses of dead whales that sink to the seafloor and provide a bonanza of food for deep-sea scavengers. A single whale fall can support a succession of communities for decades, first attracting mobile scavengers like hagfish and sleeper sharks, then later hosting specialized worms, bacteria, and other organisms that consume the remaining bones and oil. These whale falls may serve as stepping stones for species that live at hydrothermal vents and cold seeps, allowing larvae to disperse across the vast distances between these isolated oases by hitching a ride on the chemical signals released by decomposing whale carcasses. The deep sea is not one uniform environment but a mosaic of habitats, each with its own challenges, opportunities, and specialized inhabitants. From the soft sediments of abyssal plains to the rocky slopes of seamounts, from the chemical-rich waters of hydrothermal vents to the methane seeps of continental margins, from the extreme depths of ocean trenches to the relatively shallow but still dark waters of the mesopelagic zone, each environment has shaped its inhabitants in unique ways. And throughout these diverse environments, we find giants. Not everywhere, and not in every group of organisms, but consistently enough that gigantism emerges as a notable feature of deep-sea life. The patterns we see suggest that when conditions align, when temperature and pressure and food availability and predation risk fall within certain ranges, growing large becomes advantageous. The giants we've discussed are not random anomalies but predictable outcomes of natural selection operating under deep-sea conditions. Yet there's still so much we don't understand. Why do some groups of organisms produce giants in the deep sea while others don't? Why are giant amphipods found at some deep sites but not others? What sets the upper limit on how large these creatures can grow? How long do they live, and how quickly do they grow? How do their populations respond to changes in food availability or temperature? How will climate change affect these deep-sea ecosystems, and what will happen to the giants if their world begins to shift? These questions drive ongoing research. Scientists are deploying long-term monitoring equipment in the deep sea, creating time-lapse images that reveal how communities change over months and years. They're using genetic tools to understand population structure and connectivity, to determine whether giant isopods in one ocean basin are the same species as those in another, or whether they've diverged into separate populations. They are studying the biochemistry of deep-sea organisms, looking for new enzymes, proteins, and other molecules that might have applications in biotechnology or medicine. The deep sea may also hold clues to the origins of life on Earth. The discovery of hydrothermal vents with their chemosynthetic ecosystems suggested that life might have first emerged not in shallow, sunlit pools as previously thought, but in the deep ocean, powered by the Earth's internal chemistry rather than sunlight. While this hypothesis remains controversial, it has profoundly influenced our thinking about where and how life might arise, both on Earth and on other worlds. The moons Europa and Enceladus, orbiting Jupiter and Saturn respectively, are thought to harbor vast oceans beneath their icy crusts. These oceans exist in total darkness, warmed by tidal forces rather than sunlight. If life exists there, it would likely resemble Earth's deep-sea ecosystems more than our surface oceans, perhaps deriving energy from chemical reactions at underwater vents similar to those on Earth. The discovery that life can thrive in Earth's deep sea, independent of photosynthesis, has expanded our concept of habitable worlds and given new hope to the search for life beyond Earth. Back here on our own planet, the deep sea faces growing threats from human activities. Deep sea fishing, particularly bottom trawling, scrapes the seafloor with heavy nets, destroying ancient coral forests and sponge gardens that took centuries to grow. Deep-sea mining operations are being planned to extract valuable minerals from the seafloor, with potentially catastrophic effects on deep-sea ecosystems that we barely understand. Pollution from the surface is reaching even the deepest parts of the ocean. Plastic debris and chemical contaminants have been found in the Mariana Trench, and even deep-sea creatures in the most remote locations now carry traces of human-made pollutants in their tissues. Climate change is also affecting the deep sea. Rising ocean temperatures are altering deep ocean currents and oxygen levels. The warming surface waters hold less dissolved oxygen, and when that water eventually sinks and mixes into the deep, it carries less oxygen with it. Some areas of the ocean are experiencing expanding oxygen minimum zones, regions where dissolved oxygen levels drop so low that most animals cannot survive. These zones are growing, pushing deeper into regions that were previously well oxygenated, potentially squeezing the habitats available to deep-sea species. Ocean acidification, caused by the absorption of excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, is making the water more acidic. This affects organisms with calcium carbonate shells or skeletons, making it harder for them to build and maintain their structures. Deep-sea corals, mollusks, and crustaceans like the giant isopods with their calcified exoskeletons may struggle in more acidic waters. The full impacts are still being studied, but the potential for disruption is significant. Yet despite these threats, there is also growing recognition of the deep sea's importance and fragility. International efforts are underway to establish marine protected areas in the deep ocean, to regulate fishing and mining activities, and to improve our understanding of these ecosystems before we damage them irreparably. New technologies are making it easier and cheaper to explore the deep, allowing more scientists and even citizen scientists to contribute to our knowledge. Perhaps most importantly, the deep-sea giants have captured public imagination in a way that few scientific discoveries can. The idea of enormous squid battling sperm whales in the darkness, of football-sized isopods crawling across the abyssal plains, of 3-meter tube worms clustered around volcanic vents, these images fire the imagination and remind us that Earth still holds wonders beyond our everyday experience. They make the deep sea seem not like a remote abstraction but like a real place, full of remarkable life that deserves our attention and protection. The giant creatures of the deep serve as ambassadors for their realm, helping us understand and care about an environment we can rarely see. They challenge our assumptions about the limits of life, showing us that organisms can thrive in conditions we once thought impossible. They reveal the power of evolution to find solutions to extreme challenges, crafting adaptations that seem almost magical in their sophistication and efficiency. And they remind us how much we still have to learn. Every giant specimen recovered, every video captured by deep-sea cameras, every genetic sequence analyzed adds a piece to the puzzle. Slowly, expedition by expedition, observation by observation, we're building a more complete picture of life in the deep sea and the forces that shape it. We're learning not just about individual species but about the principles that govern life in extreme environments, principles that may apply to ecosystems throughout the universe. The deep-sea giants stand at the intersection of multiple scientific mysteries. They embody questions about metabolism and body size, about adaptation to extreme pressure and temperature, about evolution in isolation, about food webs in energy-poor environments. Studying them requires expertise from many fields: marine biology, biochemistry, physiology, ecology, genetics, physics, chemistry. They are a reminder that the most interesting scientific questions often lie at the boundaries between disciplines, requiring collaboration and creative thinking to answer. Consider the question of how giant squid find mates in the vast darkness. These animals are thought to be relatively rare, scattered across enormous volumes of ocean. They don't form schools or congregations like many surface fish. How does a male locate a female in the darkness? Do they follow chemical trails, detecting pheromones released into the water? Do they listen for sounds, perhaps the subtle noise of a potential mate moving through the water? Do they watch for bioluminescent signals? We don't know, because we've never observed their mating behavior. Every answer we find raises new questions. Or consider the growth rates of deep-sea creatures. Most deep-sea organisms are thought to grow very slowly, a consequence of their low metabolic rates and scarce food. But the giant tube worms grow remarkably fast, and some fish at certain life stages may also grow quickly. What determines growth rate in the deep sea? Is it simply food availability, or are there other factors at play? How do growth rates change over an animal's lifetime? Do juveniles grow faster than adults? How plastic is growth, adjusting to environmental conditions, or is it largely genetically determined? These questions have practical implications beyond pure scientific curiosity. Understanding how organisms respond to environmental change in the deep sea could help us predict and perhaps mitigate the impacts of climate change and other human activities. Understanding the biochemical adaptations that allow life at extreme pressures and temperatures could lead to new biotechnologies, new materials, new medical treatments. The deep sea is not just a source of scientific knowledge but a potential wellspring of innovation and application. The economic value of deep-sea ecosystems is also becoming clearer. Deep-sea fisheries provide protein for millions of people, though many of these fisheries are poorly managed and at risk of collapse. Deep-sea organisms may be sources of valuable pharmaceutical compounds, with some bacteria and invertebrates already yielding promising drug candidates. The deep ocean plays a crucial role in regulating Earth's climate, absorbing carbon dioxide and heat, driving ocean circulation patterns that affect weather worldwide. Understanding and protecting the deep sea is not just about preserving fascinating creatures, it's about maintaining the health of the entire planet. As we drift here in our imaginary submarine, suspended in the darkness between the twilight zone and the midnight zone, surrounded by the faint bioluminescent glows of passing creatures, it's worth reflecting on how much the deep sea represents both what we know and what we don't know about our own planet. It's humbling to realize that this vast realm, covering most of Earth's surface, remained almost entirely unknown to us until just over a century ago. It's exciting to consider how much we've learned in that time. And it's sobering to realize how much still remains to be discovered. The giants of the deep are markers in that ongoing journey of discovery. Each one tells a story of adaptation and survival, of evolution finding solutions to extreme challenges, of life's remarkable ability to persist and even flourish in the most unlikely places. The giant isopods, with their ancient body plan, essentially unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, show us that successful designs can endure across vast spans of time. The giant squid, with their enormous eyes and sophisticated nervous systems, show us that intelligence and sensory acuity can evolve in the darkness. The giant tube worms, with their bacterial partners, show us that cooperation and symbiosis can create entirely new ways of life. These creatures and countless others like them populate the deep sea, each playing its role in complex food webs and ecological relationships that we're only beginning to understand. They compete and cooperate, hunt and hide, reproduce and die, all in the eternal darkness of the deep. They've been doing this for millions of years, long before humans existed, and if we protect their habitat, they'll continue long after we're gone. They are part of Earth's deep history and deep future, adapted to a world that changes slowly, if at all, where time passes differently than it does at the surface. In some ways, the deep sea and its giants represent the ultimate unknown frontier. We've climbed the highest mountains, crossed the polar ice caps, even walked on the moon. But the deepest parts of our own ocean remain largely unexplored, more mysterious and inaccessible than the surface of Mars. This underwater realm, with its crushing pressures and eternal darkness, pushes the limits of our technology and our understanding. It reminds us that wonder and discovery are still possible, that Earth still holds secrets, that there are still places where humans have barely ventured. And perhaps that's fitting. Perhaps we need these remaining unknowns, these frontiers that challenge us, these mysteries that inspire curiosity and drive us to explore and learn. The deep-sea giants, living their lives in darkness thousands of meters below the waves, unaware of our interest in them, indifferent to our struggles and achievements, carry on their ancient patterns of existence. They're a reminder that the universe is larger and stranger than our daily experience suggests, that reality extends far beyond what we can see from our familiar surface world. As your thoughts grow quieter now, drifting like a deep-sea current, slow and steady and persistent, you might imagine what it would be like to be one of these creatures. To sense the world through bioluminescence and chemical traces, to move through water under pressures that would crush most life, to hunt in darkness so complete that noon and midnight are indistinguishable, to live life on a timescale where weeks pass between meals and years slip by in patient waiting. It's an existence alien to us, and yet these creatures are our distant relatives, sharing with us the same basic cellular machinery, the same genetic code, the same planetary home. The chemistry of life itself must change to accommodate the extreme conditions of the deep sea. At the molecular level, every protein, every enzyme, every cellular membrane must be engineered to function under pressures that would destroy the same structures at the surface. It's a remarkable testament to evolution's power that life has not only adapted to these conditions but has flourished, finding ways to turn apparent disadvantages into opportunities. Let's explore deeper into how temperature affects these giants, because it's one of the most fundamental factors shaping life in the deep. The deep ocean is cold, consistently so, with temperatures typically ranging from just above freezing to about 4 degrees Celsius in most regions. This cold is perpetual. There are no seasonal variations, no day and night cycles of warming and cooling. For creatures living here, cold is not an occasional challenge but the fundamental reality of existence. Cold affects biological processes in profound ways. Chemical reactions slow down as temperature decreases, following what's called the Q10 rule. For every 10-degree drop in temperature, most biological reactions slow by a factor of 2 to 3. This means that a creature living at 2 degrees Celsius has metabolic reactions running perhaps 10 times slower than a similar creature at 30 degrees. Everything happens in slow motion. Digestion takes longer, wounds heal more slowly, growth proceeds at a glacial pace, even nerve impulses travel more leisurely through the cold tissues. For warm-blooded animals, this cold would be lethal or at minimum would require enormous energy expenditure to maintain body temperature. But deep-sea organisms are cold-blooded, their body temperatures matching the surrounding water. They've adapted to function efficiently at these low temperatures, with enzymes and proteins that remain flexible and active even in near-freezing conditions. While their reactions may be slower than those of warm-water organisms, they are fast enough for survival, and the energy savings from not having to heat their bodies is substantial. This cold also affects the physics of their existence. Cold water is denser than warm water, which affects buoyancy and movement. Cold water holds more dissolved oxygen, as we mentioned earlier, which can support more active metabolism despite the generally low food availability. And cold water affects the behavior of the organic molecules these creatures consume, with fats and other compounds behaving differently at low temperatures than they would in warm surface waters. Some scientists believe that the cold of the deep sea may be one of the primary drivers of gigantism through its effects on cellular processes. At low temperatures, cells may need to be larger to maintain adequate reaction rates, because diffusion of molecules through the cell happens more slowly in cold conditions. Larger cells mean larger overall body size. Additionally, cold temperatures may extend lifespan by slowing metabolic wear and tear on cellular machinery. If organisms live longer, And if they continue growing throughout their lives, even slow growth rates can eventually produce giants. There's also evidence that cold temperatures may reduce the energetic cost of maintaining large body size. In warm water, larger bodies generate more metabolic heat, which must be dissipated. In cold water, this isn't a concern, and the waste heat from metabolism might even be beneficial in maintaining cellular function. The relationship between temperature and body size is complex and not fully understood, but it's clear that temperature plays a crucial role in shaping deep-sea life. The evolutionary origins of deep-sea gigantism are a subject of ongoing scientific debate and research. How did these large body sizes evolve? Did they arise independently in different lineages, or do they share common genetic or developmental mechanisms? When did gigantism first appear in the deep sea, and has it waxed and waned over evolutionary time? Fossil evidence suggests that large marine organisms have existed since the early days of complex life. The Cambrian explosion, roughly 540 million years ago, saw the emergence of many body plans that still exist today, and some of these early organisms were quite large. But the deep sea itself has left few fossils. The harsh conditions and scarcity of hard structures that fossilize well mean that most of deep-sea history is lost to us. We can infer patterns from living organisms and from the rare fossil deposits that do exist, but much remains speculative. What we do know is that gigantism has evolved multiple times independently in different groups of deep-sea organisms. Giant isopods are found in several ocean basins, but genetic studies suggest they may represent multiple species that evolved large size separately. The various giant squid species appear to have evolved from smaller ancestors, growing larger as they adapted to deep water habitats. Giant amphipods in different ocean trenches may represent independent evolution of large size in response to similar environmental pressures. This convergent evolution, where similar traits appear independently in unrelated lineages facing similar environmental challenges, is strong evidence that gigantism is indeed adaptive in the deep sea. Natural selection doesn't produce the same solution repeatedly by chance. When we see the same trait appearing over and over in similar environments, it tells us that this trait confers genuine advantages. The genetic basis of gigantism is gradually being uncovered through advances in genomics and molecular biology. Scientists have begun sequencing the genomes of deep-sea organisms, looking for genes associated with large body size, pressure adaptation, and cold tolerance. Some of the findings are intriguing. Genes involved in growth hormone signaling may show differences between giant and normal-sized relatives. Genes for proteins that function under high pressure may have specific mutations that enhance their stability. Genes involved in lipid metabolism, crucial for maintaining buoyancy and energy storage in the deep sea, may show unique adaptations. But genetics alone doesn't tell the whole story. Development, the process by which a fertilized egg becomes an adult organism, is influenced by both genes and environment. In the deep sea, environmental factors like temperature, pressure, and food availability may influence developmental pathways in ways that promote larger body size. This developmental plasticity, the ability of an organism to modify its development in response to environmental conditions, could play a role in deep-sea gigantism. Some researchers have proposed that gigantism might be partly a consequence of indeterminate growth, the pattern seen in many fish and invertebrates where growth continues throughout life rather than stopping at sexual maturity as it does in birds and mammals. In the deep sea, where lifespans can be very long and where there may be few upper limits on body size imposed by predation or competition, indeterminate growth could lead naturally to large sizes in old individuals. The giants we observe might simply be very old individuals of species that grow throughout their lives. This raises fascinating questions about the age structure of deep-sea populations. Are most individuals young and small, with giants representing rare old survivors? Or do populations include many large individuals, suggesting that survival rates are high and most individuals live to old age? How does age structure vary with depth, with habitat type, with geographic location? These demographic questions are difficult to answer because we can rarely observe deep-sea populations directly over long periods, but they are crucial for understanding the ecology and evolution of gigantism. Reproduction in the deep sea presents unique challenges that have shaped some of the most remarkable adaptations we've discussed. Finding a mate in the vast darkness, where individuals of your species may be scattered across thousands of cubic kilometers of water, is an enormous challenge. And once you've found a mate, producing offspring that can survive to adulthood in a food-poor environment requires substantial energy investment. Many deep-sea organisms have evolved strategies to maximize reproductive success despite these challenges. We've already discussed the parasitic males of deep-sea anglerfish, perhaps the most extreme solution to the mate-finding problem. But there are many other reproductive strategies as well. Some deep-sea fish and invertebrates are hermaphroditic, possessing both male and female reproductive organs. This ensures that any encounter with another individual of the same species can potentially result in reproduction, doubling the odds compared to species with separate sexes. Other species use chemical signals, releasing pheromones into the water that can be detected by potential mates from great distances. The composition of these pheromones can convey information about the sender's species, size, reproductive state, and genetic quality. Males may follow these chemical plumes through the water like bloodhounds following a scent trail, sometimes traveling substantial distances to locate a receptive female. Bioluminescent signals may also play a role in courtship and mating. Some deep-sea fish have sexually dimorphic patterns of photophores, with males and females displaying different light patterns. These displays could help individuals identify potential mates of the correct species and sex. Some species may engage in bioluminescent courtship displays, flashing patterns that convey information or stimulate reproductive behavior. However, our observations of such behavior are limited because it's extremely difficult to observe deep-sea mating in nature, and laboratory conditions often don't trigger normal reproductive behavior. The eggs and larvae of deep-sea organisms show fascinating adaptations as well. As mentioned earlier, many species produce relatively few, large, yolk-rich eggs that provide developing embryos with substantial energy reserves. This contrasts with many surface-dwelling fish and invertebrates that produce millions of tiny eggs, relying on quantity rather than quality. In the deep sea, where food for larvae is scarce, investing more resources in fewer offspring makes sense. Some deep-sea species are viviparous, retaining eggs internally and giving birth to live young. This protects the developing embryos from predation and ensures they are released into the environment at a more advanced, more capable life stage. The deep-sea skates, for example, produce large egg cases containing embryos that develop over extended periods, sometimes more than a year, before hatching as miniature versions of the adults. Other species send their eggs or larvae up toward the surface, where food is more abundant. The eggs may be buoyant, rising passively through the water column, or the larvae may actively swim upward. They feed and grow in the rich surface waters, then eventually descend to take up life in the deep as they mature. This life history strategy connects the surface and deep ocean, and it means that protecting surface ocean ecosystems is important for deep-sea species as well. The timing of reproduction in the deep sea is another intriguing question. At the surface, many marine organisms synchronize their reproduction with seasonal changes. phytoplankton blooms in spring and summer, fish spawning time to coincide with abundant food for larvae. But in the deep sea, there are no seasons in the traditional sense. The environment is stable year-round. So how do deep-sea organisms time their reproduction? Some species may reproduce continuously, with individuals at various stages of reproductive maturity at all times. Others may have extended reproductive cycles, reproducing once every several years rather than annually. Still others may somehow detect subtle seasonal signals that penetrate to the deep, changes in the rain of organic matter from the surface, slight temperature variations carried by ocean currents, even possibly seasonal variations in the intensity or spectral composition of bioluminescence from vertically migrating organisms. Research on reproductive timing in the deep sea is challenging because it requires collecting specimens at different times of year and examining their reproductive status, or ideally, observing populations over extended periods to track reproductive cycles. Such studies are expensive and logistically difficult, but they are gradually revealing the reproductive patterns of deep-sea species and showing that reproduction in the deep is far more complex and varied than early researchers suspected. The role of deep-sea giants in their ecosystems is another area of active research. These large organisms don't exist in isolation. They are part of complex food webs and ecological relationships. As predators, scavengers, and prey, they influence the flow of energy and nutrients through deep-sea environments. Understanding their ecological roles helps us understand how deep-sea ecosystems function and how they might respond to environmental changes. Giant isopods, for example, are important scavengers, helping to recycle organic matter that sinks to the seafloor. A whale carcass or large fish falling to the abyss represents a bonanza of food in an otherwise food-poor environment, and scavengers like giant isopods are crucial for breaking down this material and redistributing its nutrients. Without scavengers, organic matter might accumulate on the seafloor or be buried in sediment before its nutrients could re-enter the food web. Giant squid occupy a different ecological role as active predators. They hunt fish, smaller squid, and other prey in the midwater realm, transferring energy from lower trophic levels to higher ones. In turn, they are preyed upon by sperm whales and possibly other large predators, making them a crucial link in the deep ocean's food chains. Their populations and distributions influence the populations of their prey and predators, creating ripple effects throughout the ecosystem. The giant tube worms at hydrothermal vents serve yet another role, as foundation species that create habitat for other organisms. The forests of tubes provide shelter and substrate for numerous smaller creatures, polychaete worms, limpets, crabs, fish, and others that live among the tubes and feed on the bacteria and organic matter associated with them. When tube worm populations flourish, they support diverse communities. When vents shut down and tube worms die off, much of the associated biodiversity disappears as well. Deep-sea amphipods, including the giant species, play important roles as both predators and scavengers. They are mobile and relatively fast-moving compared to many deep-sea organisms, able to quickly locate and exploit food sources. They can form feeding frenzies around carcasses, rapidly stripping flesh and redistributing nutrients. They also prey on smaller organisms and may serve as prey for larger fish and other predators, making them important nodes in deep-sea food webs. The ecological relationships in the deep sea are complex and still poorly understood. Who eats whom? How efficient is energy transfer between trophic levels? How do populations of different species interact and influence each other? How stable are these relationships over time? These questions are fundamental to ecology, but in the deep sea they are extraordinarily difficult to answer because we can't easily observe feeding behavior, track individual organisms, or conduct the kinds of manipulative experiments that terrestrial and shallow water ecologists routinely perform. New technologies are helping. Baited cameras allow researchers to observe scavenger behavior and document which species arrive at food sources, in what order, and how they interact. Stable isotope analysis of tissue samples can reveal what organisms have been eating even when we can't observe them directly. Genetic analysis of gut contents can identify prey species from partially digested remains. Time-lapse cameras deployed on the seafloor can document long-term changes in communities and reveal patterns of activity and interaction. These tools are gradually building a more complete picture of deep-sea ecology. We're learning that deep-sea food webs are more complex than once thought, with multiple trophic levels, numerous species interactions, and dynamic patterns of population change. We're discovering that deep-sea communities are not static but respond to environmental variation, particularly to changes in the flux of organic matter from the surface. And we're finding that some deep-sea ecosystems may be more fragile than we thought, susceptible to disruption from human activities and environmental changes. This brings us to the issue of conservation, which is increasingly urgent as human impacts on the deep ocean intensify. For most of human history, the deep sea was protected by its remoteness and inaccessibility. But technological advances have changed that. Deep-sea fishing vessels can now work at depths that were unreachable a few decades ago. Trawl nets scrape the seafloor at depths exceeding 1,000 meters, destroying ancient coral forests and sponge fields. Long lines extend for miles through the midwater realm, catching target species but also many non-target organisms as bycatch. The impacts of deep-sea fishing on giant species can be severe. Giant fish species are often long-lived and slow to reproduce, making them vulnerable to overfishing. Orange roughy, for example, a deep-sea fish that can live for more than 100 years, was heavily overfished in the late 20th century, with populations in some areas collapsing. Similarly, deep-sea sharks, some of which can live for centuries and don't reach sexual maturity until they are several decades old, are highly vulnerable to fishing pressure. Giant squid are not directly targeted by commercial fisheries, but they may be caught as bycatch or affected indirectly through fishing impacts on their prey and predators. Sperm whale populations, the primary predators of giant squid, were severely depleted by whaling in the 19th and 20th centuries. While some populations have recovered since whaling was banned, others remain at low levels. Changes in sperm whale populations likely affect giant squid populations, though the details of these interactions remain largely unknown. Deep-sea mining represents an emerging threat that could have widespread impacts on deep-sea ecosystems. The seafloor in some areas contains valuable mineral deposits, polymetallic nodules rich in manganese, nickel, and cobalt, sulfide deposits near hydrothermal vents containing copper, zinc, and precious metals, cobalt-rich crusts on seamounts. Mining companies are developing technologies to extract these resources, and some operations may begin within the next few years. The environmental impacts of deep-sea mining could be catastrophic for local ecosystems. Mining operations would destroy the seafloor habitat directly, crushing or burying organisms. They would create massive sediment plumes that could spread for hundreds of kilometers, smothering communities and potentially clogging the feeding and respiratory structures of filter-feeding organisms. The noise and vibration from mining equipment could affect animals that rely on sound for communication or navigation. And the chemical effects of disturbed sediments and mining effluents are largely unknown but potentially harmful. Hydrothermal vent communities, including the giant tube worms we discussed, are particularly at risk because the sulfide deposits they inhabit are valuable mining targets. These communities are already naturally ephemeral, dependent on active venting that can cease at any time. Mining could eliminate entire vent sites, potentially causing local extinctions of species that exist only at a single vent field or a small cluster of vents. And because vent communities are isolated from each other by vast expanses of unsuitable habitat, recolonization after mining could be slow or impossible. International efforts to regulate deep-sea mining are underway through the International Seabed Authority, which has the mandate to manage mineral resources in international waters. But the regulations are still being developed, and there are concerns that they may not provide adequate environmental protection. Many scientists and conservation organizations are calling for a moratorium on deep-sea mining until we better understand the ecosystems at risk and can ensure that mining operations won't cause irreversible damage. Climate change adds another layer of threat to deep-sea ecosystems. Rising ocean temperatures, though most pronounced at the surface, are gradually affecting deeper waters as well. Changes in ocean circulation patterns could alter the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the deep sea. Expanding oxygen minimum zones could squeeze the habitable zones for many species. Ocean acidification could affect organisms with calcium carbonate structures, making it harder for them to build and maintain shells and skeletons. The full impacts of climate change on the deep sea are difficult to predict because we still understand so little about how deep-sea ecosystems function and how organisms will respond to gradual environmental changes. Some species may be able to adapt, shifting their distributions or altering their physiology to cope with new conditions. Others may be too specialized or too slow reproducing to adapt quickly enough. The deep-sea giants, with their long lifespans and slow reproduction, could be particularly vulnerable if conditions change faster than they can adapt. Yet there's also hope. The deep sea's vast size means that even with growing human impacts, much of it remains relatively pristine. Remote areas, particularly in the Southern Ocean and the Central Pacific, see little human activity. Establishing marine protected areas in these regions could preserve ecosystems and provide refuges for species affected by human activities elsewhere. International cooperation on ocean management, while challenging, has achieved some successes, and there's growing recognition that we must better understand and protect the deep ocean. Scientific research continues to reveal new wonders and deepen our understanding. New species are discovered regularly, including giant forms that expand our knowledge of the size limits possible in the deep sea. New technologies allow us to explore deeper and more efficiently than ever before. Genetic and molecular tools reveal the hidden adaptations that allow life to thrive under extreme conditions. And growing public interest in the deep sea, driven partly by stunning imagery from deep-sea expeditions and documentaries, is creating a constituency for ocean conservation. The giants of the deep serve as flagship species for conservation efforts, much as pandas, tigers, and elephants do on land. Their charisma, their strangeness, their embodiment of the unknown wilderness of the ocean make them powerful symbols. When people learn about giant isopods or colossal squid, they become curious about the deep sea more broadly. That curiosity can translate into support for research and conservation, for policies that protect deep sea habitats, for sustainable management of ocean resources. Education and outreach are crucial. Most people never think about the deep sea and have little awareness of its importance or the threats it faces. Bringing the deep sea into public consciousness, making it real and relevant, is a challenge that scientists, educators, and communicators are working to address. Every documentary that showcases deep sea life, every article that explains deep sea research, every museum exhibit that displays deep sea specimens, helps build that awareness and connection. The study of deep-sea gigantism also has broader implications for our understanding of biology. These organisms push the boundaries of what we thought possible, challenging our models and theories. Studying how they achieve large size under extreme conditions informs our understanding of fundamental biological principles, the relationships between body size and metabolism, the constraints on cell size and function, the limits of physiological adaptation, the pathways of evolutionary innovation. Let's delve deeper into some specific examples of deep-sea giants that illustrate these principles in particularly striking ways. Consider the giant amphipod Alicella gigantea, discovered in deep ocean trenches. While typical amphipods measure a few millimeters to perhaps a centimeter, Alicella gigantea can reach 34 centimeters in length. That's over 300 times the volume of a typical shallow water amphipod. This creature lives at depths exceeding 7,000 meters, where the pressure is equivalent to having a small car balanced on your fingernail. At these extreme depths, every aspect of the organism's biology must be adapted to function under crushing pressure. The cell membranes contain specialized lipids that remain flexible despite the pressure. The proteins that carry out cellular functions have structural modifications that prevent them from being deformed or denatured. Even the genetic material, the DNA and RNA that encode the instructions for building and running the organism, must be protected from pressure-induced damage. Research on deep-sea amphipods has revealed fascinating details about pressure adaptation at the molecular level. Certain enzymes, particularly those involved in energy metabolism, show specific amino acid substitutions that enhance their stability under pressure. These substitutions often involve replacing larger amino acids with smaller ones, creating a more compact protein structure that resists compression. Other adaptations involve the addition of stabilizing bonds within the protein structure, creating molecular braces that hold the protein in its correct shape despite the pressure trying to deform it. The nervous system of giant amphipods presents special challenges. Nerve impulses rely on the movement of ions across cell membranes, and pressure can affect both the permeability of membranes and the behavior of ion channels. Deep-sea organisms have evolved specialized ion channels that maintain proper function under high pressure, ensuring that nerve signals can still be transmitted rapidly and accurately. This allows giant amphipods to remain agile and responsive despite living under conditions that would paralyze most surface organisms. Their sensory systems are also remarkable. In the complete darkness of the hadal trenches, vision is useless, and most hadal amphipods have reduced or absent eyes. Instead, they rely heavily on chemosensory organs, essentially taste and smell receptors, that can detect minute concentrations of organic compounds in the water. These chemoreceptors are incredibly sensitive, allowing the amphipods to detect and locate food sources from considerable distances. When a dead fish or other organic matter falls into the trench, amphipods can converge on it from all directions, guided by the chemical plumes spreading through the water. The feeding behavior of giant amphipods is voracious and efficient. When researchers deploy baited cameras in deep trenches, giant amphipods often arrive within hours, sometimes in swarms of dozens or hundreds of individuals. They attack the bait with remarkable aggression, tearing off pieces of flesh and consuming them rapidly. Time-lapse footage shows that a large fish carcass can be reduced to a skeleton within a matter of hours by a feeding frenzy of amphipods. This rapid consumption makes sense in an environment where food is extremely scarce. When a meal appears, you must eat as much as possible as quickly as possible, because you don't know when the next meal will arrive. But these amphipods aren't just scavengers, they're also predators and possibly cannibals. Studies of their gut contents have revealed remains of other amphipods, suggesting that they'll prey on each other when other food is unavailable. This makes the deep trenches a surprisingly dangerous place despite the overall scarcity of life. An amphipod must be constantly vigilant, ready to feed when opportunity arises, but also ready to flee or fight when threatened by others of its kind. The reproductive biology of giant amphipods remains largely mysterious. Females carry developing embryos in a brood pouch, like their shallow water relatives, but the number of embryos is typically small, often just a dozen or two rather than the hundreds or thousands produced by smaller amphipod species. Each embryo is relatively large, well supplied with yolk, giving it a better chance of survival in the harsh deep-sea environment. The gestation period is thought to be long, possibly many months, as development proceeds slowly in the cold water. How often do these amphipods reproduce? How long do they live? At what age do they reach sexual maturity? These basic life history questions remain largely unanswered because we can't easily observe these animals over their lifespans or maintain them in captivity for extended periods. They are adapted to conditions that are extraordinarily difficult to replicate in the laboratory: crushing pressure, near freezing temperature, complete darkness, and the unusual chemistry of deep trench water. Without the ability to study them under controlled conditions, many aspects of their biology remain speculative. Now let's turn our attention to another group of deep-sea giants that illustrate different aspects of adaptation: the giant grenadiers, also known as rat-tails. These fish are among the most abundant vertebrates in the deep sea, and some species grow to impressive sizes. The giant grenadier, Albatrossia pectoralis, can reach lengths of over 2 meters and weights exceeding 30 kilograms. They are found at depths ranging from about 140 to 3,000 meters in the North Pacific Ocean. Grenadiers get their common name rat-tails from their distinctive body shape, a relatively large head and forward body that tapers to a long, thin tail. This body form is thought to be an adaptation for life near the seafloor. The large head houses powerful jaw muscles and sensory organs, while the long tail provides efficient swimming motion with minimal energy expenditure. Many grenadiers hover just above the bottom, using their sensitive barbels, whisker-like organs on their chins, to detect prey in the sediment. The giant grenadier is a predator and scavenger, feeding on a variety of prey including fish, squid, crustaceans, and whatever carrion it can find. Its large size allows it to tackle bigger prey than smaller deep-sea fish can handle, and it can also defend food sources against competitors. When researchers deploy baited cameras, grenadiers are often among the first fish to arrive, and they'll aggressively defend their access to the bait against other species. The sensory systems of grenadiers reflect the importance of non-visual senses in the deep sea. While they do have eyes capable of detecting faint bioluminescence, their lateral line system is particularly well developed. The lateral line is a sensory organ that runs along the sides of fish, detecting water movements and vibrations. In grenadiers, this system is enlarged and highly sensitive, allowing them to detect the subtle movements of prey or predators from considerable distances. They can sense the vibrations created by a struggling fish, the movement of a swimming shrimp, or the disturbance in the water caused by a sinking carcass. Their olfactory sense is also acute. Like many deep-sea fish, grenadiers have relatively large olfactory bulbs in their brains and extensive olfactory epithelium in their nasal cavities. They can detect and follow chemical trails through the water, tracking potential food sources or mates across substantial distances. In the vastness of the deep ocean, where encounters are rare and resources scattered, the ability to detect faint chemical signals is invaluable. The reproductive biology of giant grenadiers is better studied than that of many deep-sea species, partly because they are caught in deep-sea fisheries and researchers can examine many specimens. Females produce relatively few eggs compared to many shallow water fish, typically thousands rather than millions. The eggs are large and buoyant, floating up into shallower waters where they develop. The larvae hatch and spend their early life in the upper ocean, feeding on plankton and growing. As they mature, juvenile grenadiers gradually descend deeper, eventually settling at the depths where adults live. This life history strategy, with larvae in the upper ocean and adults in the deep, is common among deep-sea fish. It makes sense because the upper ocean is far more productive, providing abundant food for rapidly growing larvae. The juveniles can build up energy reserves in the food-rich surface waters before descending to take up the more austere life of a deep-sea adult. But this life history also makes giant grenadiers vulnerable to fishing pressure. Many are caught as bycatch in bottom trawl fisheries targeting other species, and some are directly targeted in fisheries. Because they are long-lived and slow to mature, often not reaching reproductive age until they are a decade or more old, populations can't quickly recover from overfishing. Several grenadier species have experienced population declines due to fishing, and some are now considered threatened or endangered. The lifespan of giant grenadiers can exceed 50 years, possibly approaching 100 years for the largest individuals. This longevity is typical of many deep-sea fish and reflects the slow pace of life in the deep. With low metabolic rates, slow growth, and delayed maturation, these fish are optimized for surviving in a stable, resource-poor environment. But this strategy leaves them ill-equipped to deal with the sudden, intense mortality caused by commercial fishing. Let's consider another remarkable giant, the gulper eel, also known as the pelican eel, Europharynx pelicanoides. This bizarre fish can reach lengths of 75 centimeters or more, though most of that length is an extraordinarily thin, whip-like tail. What makes the gulper eel remarkable is its enormous mouth, which can open to astounding dimensions relative to its body size. The jaws are loosely hinged and the throat is highly expandable, allowing the fish to swallow prey nearly as large as itself. The gulper eel lives at depths of 500 to 3,000 meters or more, drifting through the mid-water realm with its huge mouth agape. It's thought to swim slowly through the darkness, and when it encounters prey, perhaps a fish or a large crustacean, it rapidly expands its mouth and throat to engulf the victim. The jaw and throat can stretch to many times their resting size, creating a massive trap that few prey can escape once they've been caught. This feeding strategy makes sense in an environment where prey is scarce and unpredictable. Rather than actively chasing prey, which would expend precious energy, the gulper eel essentially becomes a passive trap, drifting and waiting for prey to come within range. When a meal does appear, the expandable mouth and throat allow the eel to consume it even if it's quite large. The prey is then gradually digested in the eel's stomach, providing enough energy to sustain the fish for weeks or even months until the next meal appears. The gulper eel's body plan is extremely unusual. Beyond the enormous mouth and expandable throat, the body is remarkably thin and ribbon-like, with minimal musculature. The skeleton is lightly built, almost fragile, with reduced ossification compared to most fish. This reduction in body mass helps with buoyancy, allowing the eel to drift through the water with minimal effort. The long, whip-like tail has a light-producing organ at the tip, a small photophore that glows pink or red. The function of this light organ isn't entirely clear, but it may serve to attract prey, lure potential mates, or perhaps serve as a decoy, drawing attacks away from the eel's vulnerable head and body. The eyes of gulper eels are small and poorly developed, suggesting that vision plays a minor role in their lives. Like many deep-sea fish, they probably rely more on other senses: chemoreception to detect potential prey or mates, mechanoreception to sense water movements, and possibly electroreception to detect the electrical fields produced by living organisms. The nervous system is reduced compared to more active fish, reflecting the low-energy lifestyle of a creature that spends most of its time slowly drifting. Gulper eels are rarely encountered and difficult to study, so much of their biology remains speculative. How do they reproduce? Where do their larvae develop? How often do they feed? How long do they live? We have tantalizing glimpses from the few specimens that have been caught or observed by deep-diving vehicles, but comprehensive understanding remains elusive. Each specimen teaches us something new, adding detail to our incomplete picture of these remarkable fish. Another deep-sea giant worth exploring in detail is the Pacific sleeper shark, Somniosus pacificus, a close relative of the Greenland shark. These sharks can reach lengths of 7 meters and possibly longer, making them among the largest predatory fish in the deep sea. They inhabit depths ranging from 200 to 2,000 meters in the North Pacific, though they occasionally venture into shallower water. Pacific sleeper sharks are slow-moving but formidable predators. They feed on a wide variety of prey including fish, squid, octopuses, crabs, and even carrion. Stomach content analyses have revealed remains of various fish species, including smaller sharks and rays, as well as marine mammals like seals. Some researchers believe these sharks may hunt sleeping or resting seals, approaching stealthily in the darkness and attacking before the seal can react. The metabolism of sleeper sharks is extremely slow, even by deep-sea standards. Their swimming speed is leisurely, rarely exceeding a few kilometers per hour. Their heart rate is remarkably low, sometimes just a few beats per minute. This slow metabolism is an adaptation to the cold waters they inhabit and the limited food resources available. By maintaining such low energy expenditure, they can survive on infrequent meals and endure long periods without food. Recent research on Greenland sharks, very similar to Pacific sleeper sharks, has revealed that they are among the longest-lived vertebrates on Earth, with some individuals estimated to be over 400 years old. If Pacific sleeper sharks are similar, they may also live for centuries, growing slowly throughout their extraordinarily long lives. A large Pacific sleeper shark alive today might have hatched when European explorers were first mapping the Pacific coast of North America, and could potentially survive well into the 23rd century. This extreme longevity has important implications for conservation. If these sharks don't reach sexual maturity until they're over a century old, as is suspected for Greenland sharks, populations cannot quickly recover from mortality caused by fishing or other human activities. Each individual represents decades or centuries of growth and survival, a precious resource that, once lost, cannot be quickly replaced. The reproductive biology of sleeper sharks is poorly understood, but they are thought to be ovoviviparous, meaning females retain eggs internally and give birth to live young. Litter sizes are small, perhaps fewer than 10 pups, and the gestation period may be extremely long, possibly several years. The combination of late maturity, long gestation, and small litter sizes means that these sharks have one of the lowest reproductive rates of any vertebrate, making them extremely vulnerable to population decline. Let's shift our focus now to the role of symbiosis in enabling gigantism in some deep-sea organisms. The giant tube worms we discussed earlier are the most dramatic example, but they are not alone. Many deep-sea organisms form symbiotic relationships with bacteria, and these relationships can provide access to energy sources that would otherwise be unavailable. At cold seeps, where methane and other hydrocarbons leak from the seafloor, giant mussels and clams harbor symbiotic bacteria in their gills. These bacteria can oxidize methane or hydrogen sulfide, deriving energy from these chemicals and providing organic compounds to their host. The mussels and clams, in turn, provide the bacteria with a protected environment and access to both the chemicals they need from the seep water and oxygen from the surrounding seawater. Some of these symbiotic mussels and clams grow to impressive sizes. The giant white clam, Calyptagina magnifica, can reach lengths of 25 centimeters, enormous for a deep-sea bivalve. These clams live in dense beds around cold seeps, their shells gleaming white against the dark sediment. Inside each clam, specialized gill tissue houses billions of symbiotic bacteria. The clam has no functional digestive system. It relies entirely on its bacterial partners for nutrition, much like the tube worms. This symbiotic lifestyle has allowed these clams to colonize environments that would otherwise be uninhabitable. The chemicals seeping from the seafloor, methane and hydrogen sulfide, are toxic to most organisms. But for the symbiotic bacteria, they are valuable energy sources, as useful as sunlight is to photosynthetic organisms. The clams serve as intermediaries, gathering these chemicals and oxygen from the water and delivering them to their bacterial partners, then receiving organic nutrients in return. It's an elegant solution to the challenge of extracting energy from a toxic environment. The evolutionary origins of these symbioses are fascinating. How did a clam or mussel first acquire symbiotic bacteria? How did the relationship evolve from casual association to obligate dependence? Genetic studies suggest that many of these symbioses have evolved independently multiple times, with different host species acquiring different bacterial partners. Some hosts acquire their symbionts from the environment each generation, with larvae taking up bacteria from the water or sediment during their development. Others transmit symbionts vertically, from parent to offspring through the eggs, ensuring that each new generation inherits its bacterial partners. These symbioses blur the line between individual and community. Is the clam and its bacteria a single organism or two organisms living together? The question is more than philosophical. It affects how we think about evolution, ecology, and the nature of life itself. In a sense, the clam and its bacteria form a holobiont, a collective organism whose success depends on the coordinated functioning of both partners. Evolution acts not just on the clam or the bacteria alone, but on the holobiont as a system. Similar symbiotic relationships are found at hydrothermal vents, where giant clams, mussels, and snails all harbor chemosynthetic bacteria. Each vent community has its own characteristic species and its own dominant symbioses, shaped by local conditions like temperature, chemical composition, and available space. Some vents are dominated by tube worms, others by mussels or clams. These foundation species, through their symbioses with bacteria, create the primary production that supports entire communities of other organisms. The discovery of chemosynthetic symbioses fundamentally changed our understanding of the energy basis of life. For most of Earth's history, scientists assumed that all complex ecosystems ultimately depended on photosynthesis, on the conversion of sunlight into organic matter by plants or photosynthetic bacteria. Hydrothermal vents and cold seeps showed that this isn't true. Ecosystems can be based on chemosynthesis instead, deriving their energy from the Earth's internal heat and chemistry rather than the sun. This has profound implications for our understanding of the history of life on Earth and the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. Now let's consider how behavior and intelligence might differ in deep-sea giants compared to their smaller relatives or compared to surface-dwelling organisms. Larger brains can support more complex information processing, and many deep-sea giants, particularly the large squid and octopuses, have substantial nervous systems. The giant squid has a brain that, while small relative to its body size, is still one of the largest among invertebrates. What might such a brain be capable of? Squid are generally considered among the most intelligent invertebrates. They can learn, remember, solve problems, and possibly even communicate with each other using color changes and body postures. While giant squid haven't been studied behaviorally in anything approaching detail, We can infer from their anatomy and from studies of smaller squid species that they are likely quite intelligent. Their large brains, complex eyes, and sophisticated behavior suggest an organism capable of processing substantial information about its environment and responding flexibly to challenges and opportunities. Deep-sea octopuses provide another window into intelligence in the deep. Some species, like the Dumbo octopus, have been observed using tools, manipulating objects in their environment, and showing problem-solving abilities. They navigate complex terrain, hunt prey using sophisticated strategies, and avoid predators through a combination of camouflage, escape responses, and possibly learning. While they don't reach the spectacular sizes of giant squid, some deep-sea octopuses are quite large, with arm spans exceeding a meter. The potential for intelligence in deep-sea giants raises intriguing questions. In an environment where encounters with other organisms are rare, where food is scarce, and where conditions are stable, what evolutionary pressures might favor intelligence? Intelligence is energetically expensive. Maintaining a large, complex brain requires substantial resources. For intelligence to evolve, the benefits must outweigh the costs. One possibility is that intelligence helps in finding and exploiting patchily distributed resources. An intelligent predator might remember the locations of productive hunting grounds, recognize patterns in the distribution of prey, or learn to efficiently search new areas. It might develop sophisticated hunting strategies that increase success rates, crucial when every failed hunt means continued hunger. An intelligent organism might also be better at avoiding predators, recognizing danger signals, and responding appropriately. Social interaction could be another driver of intelligence, even in the deep sea. While deep-sea organisms don't form the large social groups common in many surface ecosystems, they do interact with conspecifics for mating and possibly in other contexts. Being able to recognize and remember individuals, to assess potential mates or rivals, to communicate effectively, these abilities could provide advantages that justify the cost of a larger brain. The communication systems of deep-sea organisms are largely mysterious but clearly exist. Bioluminescent displays likely convey information between individuals. Chemical signals certainly do, allowing organisms to attract mates, mark territories, or coordinate behavior. Possibly sounds play a role as well. Some deep-sea fish are known to produce sounds, though whether these are used for communication or serve other functions remains unclear. Studying intelligence and behavior in deep-sea giants is extraordinarily challenging because we can rarely observe them for extended periods in their natural habitat. Brief glimpses from submersibles or videos from remotely operated vehicles provide tantalizing hints but can't reveal the full complexity of their behavioral repertoire. Laboratory studies are limited by the difficulty of maintaining these animals in captivity and by the fact that captive behavior may differ substantially from natural behavior. This is an area where new technologies, particularly long-term monitoring with camera systems and autonomous vehicles, may eventually provide breakthroughs in understanding. Let's turn now to the fascinating topic of bioluminescence in deep-sea giants. While we've discussed bioluminescence as a feature of deep-sea ecosystems, it's worth exploring in more detail how giant organisms use light in the darkness. Many large deep-sea fish have elaborate patterns of photophores, creating distinctive light displays that can serve multiple functions. Some giant fish use bioluminescent lures to attract prey, like the anglerfish we've discussed. Others use counterillumination to avoid predators, matching their ventral light output to the faint downwelling light from above. Still others use bioluminescent displays for communication, with patterns that may identify species, sex, or individual identity. Some may use flashes of light to startle predators, momentarily blinding them or creating confusion that allows escape. The control of bioluminescence is sophisticated, involving both neural and hormonal mechanisms. An organism can adjust the intensity, duration, pattern, and even sometimes the color of its bioluminescent display. This requires precise regulation of the chemical reactions producing the light or, in the case of bacterial bioluminescence, control of the bacterial symbionts themselves. The nervous system sends signals that trigger or inhibit light production, allowing rapid responses to changing conditions. The evolution of bioluminescence has occurred independently many times in the tree of life, with at least 40 separate origins across various groups of organisms. In fish alone, it appears to have evolved independently at least 27 times. Each origin involves the evolution or acquisition of the biochemical machinery needed to produce light, the luciferin molecules, the luciferase enzymes, and often additional proteins that regulate or modify the light output. Some organisms produce their own light through intrinsic biochemical reactions. Others house symbiotic bacteria in specialized organs and control these bacteria to produce light. The bacterial approach has advantages and disadvantages. On the plus side, the host doesn't have to manufacture the luciferin and luciferase itself, reducing the metabolic cost. The bacteria reproduce, maintaining the light-producing population. On the minus side, the host has less precise control over the light output and must dedicate energy to maintaining the bacterial population and the specialized organs that house them. The wavelengths of bioluminescence are typically in the blue-green range, around 470 to 490 nanometers, because these wavelengths travel farthest through seawater. Red wavelengths are quickly absorbed, which is why the unusual red bioluminescence produced by some dragonfish and other species is effectively invisible to most organisms. Most deep-sea eyes are tuned to detect blue-green light, having visual pigments with peak sensitivity around 470 to 500 nanometers. The intensity of bioluminescence varies widely. Some organisms produce only faint glows, barely detectable even with dark-adapted eyes. Others produce brilliant flashes that can be seen from tens of meters away. The ecological context determines what intensity is advantageous. A predator using a lure to attract prey wants it bright enough to be attractive but not so bright that it alerts the prey to danger. An organism using counterillumination wants to precisely match the background light, neither too bright nor too dim. An organism using a flash to startle a predator wants maximum intensity for maximum effect. The energetic cost of bioluminescence is generally thought to be low, because the chemical reactions are highly efficient, converting most of the energy into light rather than heat. This high efficiency, approaching 90% or more in some cases, makes bioluminescence one of the most efficient light sources known. Human-made light sources typically convert only a small fraction of energy into light, with the rest wasted as heat. Bioluminescence wastes very little, making it affordable even for organisms with tight energy budgets. In giant squid, bioluminescence plays an important but still poorly understood role. The largest photophores in any animal are found in giant squid, with some reaching the size of a lemon. These enormous light organs are located near the eyes and can produce powerful flashes of light. Their function is debated. They might be used to illuminate prey during hunting, to communicate with other squid, or to startle predators. Video footage of living giant squid is too limited to definitively answer these questions, leaving scientists to speculate based on anatomy and comparison with better-studied smaller species. Now, as we approach the end of our journey through the deep sea and its giants, let's consider what the future might hold for these remarkable creatures and for deep-sea exploration more broadly. Technology continues to advance, making the deep sea more accessible than ever before. Autonomous underwater vehicles are becoming more sophisticated, capable of longer missions, deeper dives, and more complex tasks. These robots can now spend days or weeks in the deep, mapping the seafloor, imaging organisms, collecting samples, and even conducting experiments without direct human control. New sensor technologies are revealing aspects of deep-sea life that were previously invisible. Advanced sonar can map the seafloor in unprecedented detail, revealing features like hydrothermal vents, cold seeps, and submarine canyons. Chemical sensors can detect and map the distribution of compounds like methane, hydrogen sulfide, and dissolved oxygen, helping scientists understand the environmental conditions in different deep-sea habitats. Genetic sensors are beginning to allow real-time detection and identification of organisms from environmental DNA, potentially revolutionizing how we survey deep-sea biodiversity. Imaging technology has come a long way from the early grainy black and white photographs taken by the first deep-sea cameras. Modern high-definition and even 4K video cameras can capture stunning footage of deep-sea life in full color, revealing details of anatomy, behavior, and ecology that were impossible to observe before. Advances in lighting technology allow cameras to illuminate scenes without disturbing the organisms too much, though this remains a challenge because many deep-sea organisms are startled by bright lights. Three-dimensional imaging, using stereo cameras or structured light techniques, allows precise measurements of organisms and their environment. This can reveal details of body shape, size, and posture that single camera footage can't capture. Combined with computer vision and machine learning algorithms, these imaging systems can automatically detect, track, and identify organisms in video footage, processing hours of video far more quickly than human observers could. Molecular biology is also transforming deep-sea research. Environmental DNA sampling allows scientists to detect the presence of species from water samples, even species that are too rare or too cryptic to observe directly. By filtering seawater and analyzing the DNA it contains, shed from organisms as they move through the water, researchers can create biodiversity inventories without having to see or catch the organisms themselves. This is particularly powerful for studying rare species, including some of the deep-sea giants that are seldom encountered. Genomic and transcriptomic studies are revealing the genetic basis of adaptation to deep-sea conditions. By sequencing the genomes of deep-sea organisms and comparing them to shallow water relatives, scientists can identify genes that show signatures of adaptation to pressure, cold, darkness, and food scarcity. These studies are revealing that adaptation to the deep sea involves changes across many genes and biological pathways, reflecting the multiple challenges these environments present. Studies of protein structure and function are showing exactly how deep-sea proteins differ from their surface counterparts and how these differences confer pressure tolerance and cold adaptation. This research has applications beyond pure science. Pressure-tolerant enzymes might be useful in industrial processes that operate at high pressure, and cold-adapted enzymes might have applications in biotechnology where reactions need to occur at low temperatures. The future of deep-sea exploration may also involve humans in new ways. While robotic vehicles are becoming ever more capable, there are still advantages to having humans in the deep, able to make real-time decisions, notice unexpected phenomena, and respond to surprises in ways that robots struggle with. New generation submersibles are being developed that can dive deeper, stay down longer, and carry more sophisticated instruments than earlier generation vehicles. Some visionaries talk about establishing permanent or semi-permanent human presence in the deep sea, perhaps in underwater habitats that would allow extended research missions. At the same time, There's growing recognition that we need to protect the deep sea even as we explore it. The precautionary principle suggests that in the face of uncertainty about how ecosystems function and how they'll respond to disturbance, we should err on the side of caution, protecting areas before they are damaged rather than trying to restore them afterward. Marine protected areas are being established in some deep-sea regions, prohibiting fishing, mining, and other extractive activities. These protected areas serve as refuges for biodiversity, as controls against which to compare impacted areas, and as natural laboratories where scientists can study ecosystems with minimal human interference. International cooperation is crucial for deep-sea conservation because most of the deep ocean lies beyond national jurisdictions, in international waters governed by treaties and international organizations. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea provides a framework for managing ocean resources, but implementation is complex and often contentious. Different nations have different priorities and perspectives, and reaching consensus on conservation measures can be challenging. Nevertheless, progress is being made. The international community is negotiating a new treaty to protect biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction, often called the High Seas Treaty. This treaty would establish frameworks for creating marine protected areas in international waters, regulating potentially harmful activities, sharing benefits from marine genetic resources, and requiring environmental impact assessments for proposed activities. If successfully concluded and ratified, this treaty could be a major step forward for ocean conservation. Public engagement and education remain crucial. Most people are disconnected from the ocean and particularly from the deep sea, which seems remote and irrelevant to daily life. But the reality is that the ocean, including the deep sea, affects everyone. It regulates climate, produces oxygen, provides food, and harbors vast biodiversity. What happens in the deep sea matters, even if most people never see it or think about it. Bringing the deep sea into public consciousness requires creative communication. Documentaries featuring stunning footage of deep-sea life reach millions of viewers and create emotional connections that can translate into conservation support. Social media allows researchers to share their work directly with public audiences, bypassing traditional gatekeepers. Museums and aquariums create exhibits that bring deep-sea organisms and environments to life, allowing visitors to experience the wonder of the deep in accessible ways. The giants of the deep serve as ambassadors for their realm. Their charisma and strangeness capture attention and imagination. When people learn about giant squid battling sperm whales, or about giant isopods surviving for years without food, or about giant tube worms living in scalding waters at volcanic vents, they become curious. That curiosity is the first step toward caring, and caring is the first step toward conservation action. As we've explored throughout this journey, the deep sea and its giants represent one of the last great frontiers on Earth. They challenge our understanding, inspire our wonder, and remind us how much remains to be discovered. Every expedition reveals new species, new behaviors, new adaptations. Every advance in technology opens new possibilities for exploration. Every analysis reveals new details of how these remarkable organisms live. The giants we've discussed, from massive isopods to colossal squid, from enormous grenadiers to giant tube worms, are just a sample of the diversity the deep sea contains. There are many other giants we haven't mentioned. Giant sea spiders with leg spans of 70 centimeters, giant sea cucumbers over 2 meters long, giant single-celled organisms called xenophyrophores that can reach 20 centimeters, the size of a dinner plate. Each is remarkable in its own way. Each has its own story of adaptation and survival. And surely there are giants we haven't discovered yet. The deep sea is vast, and we've explored only a tiny fraction of it. Every major expedition discovers new species, and many of these are larger than their previously known relatives. There may be species of giant squid or other organisms living in remote areas or at depths we've barely sampled. There may be entirely new types of deep-sea ecosystems waiting to be discovered, with their own unique assemblages of giant organisms. The story of deep-sea gigantism is still being written. Each year brings new discoveries, new insights, new questions to explore. The deep-sea giants, living their lives in eternal darkness, unaware of our interest, continue their ancient patterns of existence. They feed and grow, reproduce and die, adapt and evolve, just as they've done for millions of years. They are part of Earth's heritage, a legacy of evolution's creativity and life's resilience. As you rest now, your breathing deep and slow, your body relaxed and heavy, let your mind drift one last time through the dark waters of the deep. Picture the slow descent through layers of ocean, the gradual fading of light, the increasing cold and pressure. Feel yourself suspended in the darkness, weightless, peaceful, surrounded by the vastness of inner space. Sense the presence of life around you, though you can barely see it. Faint bioluminescent glows in the distance, the subtle movements of water as organisms pass nearby, the chemical traces of food and life drifting on the currents. Think about the giant isopods crawling methodically across the seafloor, their many legs feeling their way through the darkness. Imagine the colossal squid hanging in the black water, its enormous eyes scanning for any trace of movement or light, its tentacles ready to strike. Picture the tube worms waving their red plumes in the mineral-rich water of a hydrothermal vent, their bodies sustained not by food from above but by energy from below, from the Earth's own heat and chemistry. These creatures are your distant cousins, branches on the same tree of life that produced you. They share your basic cellular machinery, your genetic code, your fundamental life processes. Yet they've been shaped by forces and environments utterly different from those that shaped your ancestors, and they've evolved in directions that seem alien, bizarre, impossible. They remind you that life is diverse beyond imagining, creative beyond comprehension, resilient beyond measure. And they remind you that Earth, this blue marble in space that you call home, is far stranger and more wonderful than everyday experience suggests. Beneath the familiar surface world of air and sunlight and green growing things lies another world entirely, a world of water and darkness and crushing pressure, where different rules apply and different adaptations succeed. It's a world we're only beginning to understand, and it's worth protecting, worth studying, worth caring about. If this journey has sparked your curiosity, if you found yourself drawn into the mysteries of the deep, consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations of science and nature. Like this video if you've enjoyed it, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or questions. Share it with friends who might enjoy learning about the remarkable life hidden in Earth's oceans. Every view, every like, every share helps others discover these stories and helps support the creation of more content. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the world of deep-sea giants. Thank you for your curiosity, your attention, your willingness to explore realms that are strange and dark and far from everyday experience. The deep sea and its inhabitants are richer for your interest, and you're richer for having encountered them, if only in imagination and words. May your dreams be full of wonder, full of bioluminescent glows and drifting giants, full of the quiet vastness of the ocean deep. May you rest deeply and peacefully, cradled in darkness like a creature of the abyss, suspended in the gentle pressure of sleep. And may you wake refreshed, renewed, and still curious about the mysteries that surround us, both in the depths of the ocean and throughout this strange and beautiful universe we inhabit. Sleep well, rest deeply, And know that somewhere in the darkness beneath the waves, the giants of the deep continue their eternal dance, living, thriving, enduring in ways that we're only beginning to understand. They've been there for millions of years, and with care and protection, they'll be there for millions more, long after you and I and everyone we know have become part of the Earth's deep history. That continuity, that endurance, that connection to deep time, is worth celebrating, worth protecting, worth remembering as you drift into sleep. Good night, and may the mysteries of the deep sea bring you peace and wonder as you dream.